lots of money. You'll get there quicker. Yeah, good one. Ouch. But he doesn't make deals. As soon as you come his way, he stabs you in the back. He'll show you all the good stuff. And he leaves you hanging high and dry. So don't compromise. Don't compromise. All this comes down to one thing. These are the symptoms. Laziness. What was it again? Laziness, complacency, believing lies, walking after the flesh instead of following the Spirit. We don't believe that we can. Waiting for someone else. We're waiting for a hero. Right? We look only with our natural eyes, not our spiritual eyes. So we see only what's actually right in front of us. We don't know how. We don't know our covenant. We let go of the promise and we compromise. These are the symptoms. And the symptoms are the reasons why, the reason we don't experience the victory and freedom in our lives, the complete victory, is that we don't pursue it to the end. Because of these things, we don't pursue it to the end. We get a taste. We see something shifting and we say, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. And as soon as we get that little bit of taste of freedom, we get the taste that there's that shift, that things are changing, we relax our faith. We relax our aggression. We don't push. We don't keep pounding. We don't keep pounding. First Samuel 17, 51, 52. So now we know what the symptoms are. Let's get on with the with how to change it. So David prevailed, go to 50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. David did not defeat the Philistine in his own strength. He had what God gave him, which was a sling and a stone. And he threw that rock, and God did the rest. Right? David knew his covenant. He says, who are you to defy the armies of the living God? I want to go back to that. There's more to that. Uh, 17. 1 Samuel 17. David had already said to Saul that this uncircumcised Philistine would be as the lion and the bear. Go to verse 38 of Samuel, 1 Samuel 17. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass on his head. He also armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword about his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. In other words, he didn't go, he declined from going with this armor because he had never used it, he never tested it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on, and drew near unto David. And the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou should come at me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said unto David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then David said to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword. This is our part here. This is where we come in. Thou comest to me with a sword and a spear and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the God of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee, and will take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and unto the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saved not with a sword nor with a spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give thee into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to David, that David hasted and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face on the ground. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. So David relied on this covenant with God. So God is going to give you into my hands today, because I have covenant. Then David ran and stood upon the Philistine, took his sword, drew it out of his sheath, and slew him, and cut off his head. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel, now this is where a lot of people stop. The champion is dead, and the enemy is running. And they think, great, we're saved. And they turn around and they go back to their tents. But get this. And the men of Israel and of Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until you come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Shearam, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. So they pursued them all the way back to their own town. They didn't stop once the giant fell. They got rid of the enemy. They overcame the enemy. We go to chapter 30. 1 Samuel chapter 30. Verse 1. And it came to pass, when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, and the Amalekites had invaded